They thought Earth was weak. They laughed when our diplomats begged for peace. But the moment their fleets crossed our skies, humanity stopped talking. What came next wasn't war. It was a reminder of what happens when you provoke the species that never quits. The ultimatum, the day. Everything changed. The detection came at 4:47 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time on a cold November morning. Scientists at the International Space Observatory in Hawaii noticed something impossible on their screens. 17 massive objects had appeared at the edge of the solar system, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Within minutes, every space agency on Earth was tracking them. Within an hour, the world knew that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. The objects moved with purpose, gliding through space with technology that defied human understanding. They arranged themselves in a perfect formation above Earth's orbital plane, close enough to be threatening but far enough to demonstrate patience. Then they sent their message. It broadcast simultaneously across every communication device on the planet. Television screens flickered to life in the middle of the night. Radio stations went silent and then spoke with a voice that was not human. Computer monitors displayed the same image everywhere. A being stood before humanity, and it was nothing like the movies had imagined. The mediator speaks. The creature called itself Mediator Krell of the Sovereign Assembly. It stood nearly 8 feet tall with skin that shimmered like polished bronze. Its body was elegant and symmetrical, with forearms that moved with disturbing grace. Its face was almost human but wrong in ways that made people uncomfortable. The eyes were too large, too knowing, as if they could see through every lie humanity had ever told itself. Krell spoke in perfect English, though the broadcast translated itself into every language on Earth simultaneously. His voice was calm and measured, the voice of someone who had delivered this speech many times before. People of Earth, you have reached a point in your development that requires our intervention. The Sovereign Assembly has guided 143 species to peaceful integration into galactic society. We have observed your species for 3 of your generations. You have shown remarkable technological progress, but your nature concerns us greatly. Krell gestured and images appeared behind him. Wars throughout human history played out in rapid succession. Nuclear explosions, chemical weapons, cities burning, children crying. You are a violent species. Your entertainment celebrates conflict. Your economies depend on weapons manufacturing. Your political systems are built on competition rather than cooperation. Left alone, you will either destroy yourselves or become a threat to other peaceful civilizations. The offer. Nobody wanted. The Sovereign Assembly offered Earth a choice, though everyone understood it was not really a choice at all. Humanity would surrender all weapons beyond basic law enforcement tools. All military forces would be disbanded. Earth's governments would accept Assembly advisors who would guide humanity toward a more peaceful existence. In exchange, humanity would receive technology, medicine, and protection under Assembly law. You will be designated as a Category 4 developing species, Krell explained. Full citizenship rights will be granted once you demonstrate 500 years of peaceful behavior under our guidance. This is not a punishment. This is salvation. We are saving you from yourselves. President Amanda Hayes sat in the Emergency Command Center beneath Washington, watching the broadcast with her cabinet and military leaders. She was 52 years old, the first woman president of the United States, and she had never imagined her legacy would be decided by aliens. Around the table, faces showed shock, anger, and fear in equal measure. Commander Robert Stone of the Joint Chiefs of Staff spoke first. His voice was tight with controlled rage. They want us to give up our sovereignty, to become children under their supervision for 500 years. That's not integration. That's colonization taught. Earth responds. For 2 days, Earth tried diplomacy. Every nation sent messages. Scientists offered to share research. Religious leaders appealed to whatever sense of morality the Assembly might possess. Philosophers argued that diversity of thought required diversity of development. Every message received the same response. Your words are noted, but the decision is made. You have 48 hours remaining to accept integration peacefully. After that, we will integrate you by force. Your weapons cannot harm our vessels. Your resistance will only cause unnecessary suffering. Choose wisdom. Commander Stone stood before a holographic display showing the assembly ships. They were beautiful in a way that made them seem even more threatening, like predators that did not need to hide. But Stone was not looking at their beauty. He was looking at their positioning, their energy signatures, and their behavior patterns. He had spent 30 years studying warfare, and he recognized something the assembly did not realize they were showing. "These are not warships," he said quietly. "Not in any sense we would understand. Look at their formation. Perfect symmetry, perfect spacing. They are not positioned for battle. They are positioned for display." President Hayes joined him at the display. "What does that mean for us?" "It means they have never fought anyone who truly wanted to hurt them," Stone replied. "Their idea of war is probably like a police action. Overwhelming force, a few warning shots, and then surrender. They do not understand what happens when you corner a species that has been fighting for survival since it learned to make fire." Preparing the unpredictable across Earth. Humanity prepared for war in ways the assembly could not detect or understand. Military forces did not mass in obvious locations. Instead, they dispersed and hid. Satellites were quietly repositioned. Submarines moved to predetermined coordinates. Missile silos that appeared inactive were very much alive. Most importantly, every hacker, programmer, and cyber warfare expert on Earth was given a single mission: find a way into the assembly systems. A young woman named Dr. Sarah Kim made the breakthrough in a basement laboratory in Seoul. She was 28 years old, had never served in the military, and had been studying xenobiology in hopes of peaceful first contact. Now she was looking at captured signals from assembly ships and seeing something impossible. "Their communication protocols are completely open," she told the Security Council via video conference. "They have encryption, but it is designed to prevent accidents, not attacks. They have never considered that someone might try to hack them maliciously. It would be like they left every door unlocked because they have never been robbed." The attack begins. The 48-hour deadline expired at midnight. The assembly ships moved into lower orbit with mechanical precision. Mediator Krell appeared on screens worldwide one final time. "You have chosen poorly. We will now disable your military infrastructure. This will be uncomfortable but not deadly if you do not resist. Please remain calm. Your integration into civilized society begins now." The first assembly weapon fired on a military base in Nevada. A beam of concentrated energy struck the ground, and every piece of electronic equipment within 5 miles simply stopped working. No explosion, no fire, just sudden technological death. The assembly was demonstrating their power with surgical precision. They expected panic. They expected surrender. They got neither. Instead, they got something they had never encountered in 143 previous integrations. They got humans who were very, very angry. From hidden positions around the globe, humanity struck back. Not with the weapons the assembly expected, but with weapons they had never imagined. Cyber attacks flooded their systems. Kinetic weapons launched from unexpected angles. And most surprisingly, human ships that the assembly had dismissed as primitive suddenly revealed capabilities that should not have been possible. Commander Stone had spent 2 days preparing for this moment. Now he gave the order that would change everything. "All units, this is Stone. Make them regret coming here. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. Fire at will. The turning point when predators meet prey." The Sovereign Assembly had integrated 143 species over 2,000 years without losing a single ship. Their doctrine was perfection itself, refined through countless peaceful integrations. They would demonstrate overwhelming force, disable resistance with precision strikes, and wait for the inevitable surrender. It had worked every single time. Within 6 hours of the first human counterattack, the assembly had lost 4 ships, and Mediator Krell was beginning to understand that humanity was different, in ways his species had never imagined. No. Problem started with the cyber attacks Dr. Sarah Kim's team had created, something the assembly had no defenses against because they had never needed defenses. Viruses designed specifically to exploit the assembly's trusting network architecture spread through their fleet like wildfire. Ships reported false sensor readings, communication channels filled with garbage data. Navigation systems disagreed about basic coordinates. The carefully coordinated fleet became confused and isolated, each ship suddenly unsure of where its companions actually were. The asymmetric response, but the cyber warfare was only the beginning. Commander Stone had studied every war in human history and understood one critical truth. When facing a superior enemy, you never fight the way they expect. The assembly expected traditional warfare with ships meeting in space for organized battle. Instead, they got chaos. From the surface of Earth, weapons the assembly had dismissed. as primitive revealed their true purpose. Electromagnetic railguns, dismissed as too slow and imprecise, fired projectiles at velocities the assembly had not anticipated. These were not sophisticated energy weapons. They were simply chunks of metal moving very fast, and the assembly's elegant shields had been designed to dissipate energy, not stop physical impacts. The first railgun strike hit an assembly cruiser near its engineering section. The ship's shields flickered uselessly as solid tungsten traveling at Mach 30 punched through the hull like paper. The ship did not explode dramatically. It simply died, its reactor shutting down, its crew exposed to vacuum in a dozen compartments. 17 assembly members died in seconds, the first combat casualties their civilization had suffered in over 400 years. 3 more ships suffered similar fates before the assembly adjusted their defensive posture. But adjusting meant breaking formation, and breaking formation meant abandoning their doctrine for a species that had not truly fought a war in centuries. Improvisation was not a strength. Krell's breaking point mediator. Krell stood on the bridge of the assembly flagship watching his perfect integration fall apart. His forearms trembled slightly, a sign of extreme stress in his species. Around him, his crew worked frantically to restore order to the fleet, but nothing was working as it should. The humans were not following any recognizable pattern. Their attacks came from unexpected angles. Their weapons mixed primitive kinetics with surprisingly advanced electronic warfare. Most disturbing of all, they showed no sign of stopping even as assembly weapons destroyed their military installations. A transmission came through from one of the damaged ships. Its captain, a female named Sarah, spoke with panic in her voice. "Mediator, they rammed us. A human vessel deliberately crashed into our hull. The pilot did not eject, did not attempt to survive. They sacrificed themselves just to damage us. How do we fight an enemy that chooses death over surrender?" Krell had no answer. In all his years of service, in all the assembly's long history of integration, they had never encountered a species willing to trade lives so casually for tactical advantage. The concept was alien to them in ways that transcended mere cultural difference. The assembly had evolved on peaceful worlds where cooperation meant survival. Humanity had evolved on a planet that tried to kill them constantly, where competition and conflict had shaped every aspect of their nature. The Battle of Saturn's Rings. The turning point came near Saturn, where a small human fleet had been hiding among the rings. The assembly sent 30 ships to destroy what they assumed was a refugee fleet trying to escape. What they found instead was a trap. The human ships were not running. They were hunting. Admiral Lisa Torres commanded the human forces from the bridge of the carrier Resilience. She was 47 years old, had lost her son in the first assembly attack, and had nothing left to lose. Her fleet was outnumbered 6-1, but she understood something the assembly did not. Numbers meant nothing if the enemy could not effectively use them. The battle began in the ice and rock of Saturn's rings, where the assembly's superior sensors were useless. Human ships designed for asteroid mining suddenly revealed weapons hidden in cargo bays. Missiles emerged from what looked like ore containers. Ships that appeared to be fleeing suddenly reversed course and attacked. The assembly fleet found itself fighting in an environment where all their technological advantages were neutralized by simple terrain. Admiral Torres used tactics as old as warfare itself. Ambush, feint, and concentrated fire on isolated targets. She sacrificed 3 ships to destroy 9 assembly vessels, and each human crew went to their deaths knowing they were buying time for Earth. The assembly fleet broke and retreated, something they had not done in living memory. The survivors jumped away in disorder, leaving their damaged ships behind. A voice for peace after 6 days of fighting, both sides had suffered losses neither could easily afford. Earth had lost 40% of its military capability and thousands of lives. The assembly had lost 23 ships and over 800 crew members, with thousands more wounded or traumatized. More importantly, the assembly had lost something they did not know how to measure. They had lost their certainty. Ambassador Jennifer Chen requested a communication channel with mediator Krell. She was not military, but a career diplomat who had spent her life believing in peaceful solutions. The war had horrified her, but she understood that sometimes you had to prove you could not be conquered before anyone would respect your right to be free. When Krell's image appeared on the screen, she saw an alien who looked as exhausted as she felt. "Mediator Krell, we need to stop this," Chen said simply. You came here to save us from destroying ourselves, but all you have done is force us to destroy you instead. This is not civilization. This is not peace. This is just two species bleeding each other because neither will admit they were wrong. Krell was silent for a long moment. His large eyes seemed to see through her to some truth he had been avoiding. Your species should not exist, he said finally. Species as violent as yours always destroy themselves before reaching the stars. You are an impossibility that we do not know how to address. The Treaty Chen leaned forward, her voice intense. We reached the stars because of our violence, not in spite of it. Competition drove our technology. Conflict taught us cooperation. War showed us the price of peace. You want us to be something we are not, but maybe the galaxy needs species like us. Maybe your perfect civilization has forgotten that the universe is not always kind. The negotiations took 3 weeks. The final treaty recognized Earth as a sovereign world with full rights and no supervision. In exchange, humanity agreed to share certain technologies and provide military consultation to the Assembly. The clause that shocked everyone came from Krell himself. He asked that human military advisors be assigned to train Assembly forces in unconventional warfare. Not to make us killers, he explained, but to teach us how to survive in a universe that might not always be peaceful. 5 years later, when a hostile force from beyond known space attacked the Assembly's outer territories, it was human tactical doctrine that saved countless lives. Commander Stone, now Supreme Military Advisor to the Assembly, led combined forces using strategies that seemed insane to Assembly minds, but worked. Earth had proven that sometimes the best path to peace was showing everyone you were too dangerous to fight. The message spread across the galaxy. Humanity had arrived, and they had arrived on their own terms.